A lot of them feeling offended when you always winning and winning. I'm sorry you made a decision. A lot of women that I've been with, it's none of your business. I'm keeping my life on the low. Got a lot of shit you don't gotta know, cause all of the music gon' handle its own. These rappers be part of reality shows. That ain't for me, I'm one of a kind. All of your clout gon' run out of shine. I'm an investment, nothing to mess with. I just be getting better over time. I feel like I'm Tony Montana, the way that I live it. I'm making a beat and I kill it. I haven't missed in a minute. They tryna do what I do, but the shoe never fitted. I feel like the king of my city, Tony Montana. Whole lot of bands I gotta spend. I might go cut me a mansion. I feel like the king of my city, Tony Montana. I'm feeling godly, they wanna stop me. They tryna hold me for ransom. I've been feeling underestimated. I'm in between irrelevant and famous. I ain't really tryna be no A-list. All these rappers getting carried by playlists. Now they all come and go by the minute. They ain't really popping like that.
Allow me to reintroduce myself.
You are now tuning in to the Snap Call Podcast.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Season 2, Episode 6. I'm Ice.
I'm Xavier. I'm Hector.
And today we got a special guest on. We got YouTube poker player Kyle Fischl on. How's it going, Kyle?
Hey there, it's going good. Thanks for the invite. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
Of course, man. Thanks for coming with us, dude.
So we got a bunch of poker questions for you. So you ready?
Real quick before we start, TikTok, Instagram, we're talking to Kyle on YouTube. So if you guys want to come and join, head over there. All right, let's roll with it.
So basically, when was the first time you ever played poker?
For me, I started probably much earlier than probably anyone else who really got into poker. Like when I was a child, like 6, 7, 8, like had a big family and they just played cards like constantly. Like the whole family, whenever there's a get together, big poker game going on, and like the kids could go downstairs, or they were completely like welcome to play. But they were playing for money. It wasn't like, friendly game. It was like, oh, you're out of money, Grandma? Like, ask your dad to give you another $5. Like, honestly, that's how it was. It was cutthroat. They didn't care. But we played, like, all the goofy games, like Hearts, like Stud, Dime Store, Baseball, Draw, all kinds of stuff. So, as a 2-5, Texas Hold'em regular, I'm probably more apt at mixed games than anyone would think. So started at that age, and then when I turned 18, because I live in Florida, that was when is the minimum age to be able to play in card rooms. And a friend of mine saw that there was a poker room nearby that played for like $1 and $2, which was like bizarro money for me at that point, because me and my friends all through high school would play $5 and $10. Once a week or so, because my family never stopped playing. But then the first time I went to go play with my friend, I didn't want to buy in for 50 because that was the minimum. I thought that made me look like too soft, so I bought in for 60. I was like, all right, now I look like I know what I'm doing.
There you go.
Realizing now that was ridiculous, but I ended up making $259 in an hour and a half, and I was like so excited. I was racing home to tell my mom, and I got a $262 speeding ticket. So net loss 3 my first time playing.
Oh man,
not a great result, but that is kind of ties me into how I kind of fell in love with it. After that, I was just like, wow, there's like so much money in this game. Like people are willing to bet money that is past what I thought was even possible to earn in cards with like nothing, and you could just, as long as you knew what you were doing, you could be successful. And that's kind of how that started out.
And what room did you play at when you first played?
The first room I ever played at was the Naples Dog Track. And on my channel, I actually have a video from the Naples Dog Track. I did not have filming rights, so I just have like some still shots, and then it's just me, my face, talking about cards from way back in the day, like 4 or 5 years ago. And I only say that because after the dog racing got outlawed in Florida, they tore down this huge, like, 2-story building, the track, everything. And so I kind of like that it's there so you can at least see it, because it's historic. Florida had, like, 17 dog tracks out of, like, 25 in the entire nation. Mm-hmm. And then when they outlawed it, they all just kind of, dog racing's done, so now it's just poker. Yeah. But, there's a history of gambling, and I always liked, when I played 1-2 then back in the day, If I lost $50 and thought the entire world was ending, I could at least go outside and watch the dogs running. Then me and my friend would do like a $1 bet back and forth. We'd pick which one we'd win between the two of us, not with the house or anything. Then that always made it feel better. At least got a show out of it.
Hey, yeah, there you go. Ice and I, when we started playing poker originally, we started playing in the Daytona dog track. And
Yep.
I mean, we've been playing there since 2007, 2008. And same thing, I can't even count the amount of times that we would bust and then we'd find each other just hanging out by the dog track watching the dogs racing or something. Definitely brought some peace in that sense. But those are some tough times. I miss having dogs around because if the poker room wasn't busy, at least the simulcast area was busy, the dog track was busy. Like there was always something to do.
Yeah, and it made the day a lot better. Like when they'd have like big races, something special going on, then the poker was popping. Like you would go there just because like you knew there'd be someone there with a big book. They're not really playing poker, but they're betting the dogs and they're sitting there. They're just kind of gambling, and those were the guys you like to play against. And they didn't always lose. Sometimes they won. That was fine. That's why it was fun because they were gambling. They were having fun. We were having fun. If they won a dog race, they buy everyone drinks. It was awesome.
Oh, definitely.
Did you always play cash, or were you online and cash when you first started?
Well, when I was like 15, 16, 17, I was playing online at like Ignition Casino Buvada because that was the only place you could because it wasn't legal for a 15-year-old to play in a casino. But it was really just to practice, to like, get hand reps in, to learn. So like the biggest I ever played online back then was like 10 cent, 25 cent. I was able to run it up for a few $100s, even back in like 2013, which was pretty sick. And then I had the whole different, conundrum of trying to withdraw it because somehow it's impossible to withdraw it once you actually feel like it's good enough. I think I'm done. But that part was frustrating. But in the online streets, once I got to 18 of age, then I mostly got away from that until now with like the apps because it's a lot easier. I just log on, play for like an hour, probably 2 or 3 times a week because I do it typically at nighttime when I'm like decompressing. I find it like almost cathartic to just play a decent amount of hands at like a smaller stakes where you can practice some strategies, be like, all right, well, I know I have to 3-bet this hand here. It's kind of hard at 2-5 when it's like 120, but when the 3-bet is like $7 or $8, it's easy. And now it gives you the experience to like see how the hands are going to develop, even on boards like you miss. Like you're on the button, you have nines, the hijack raised. You're like, all right, this is a 3-bet. It's supposed to be. It's the most bottom of the 3-bet, but it's supposed to be in there. So let's see how it plays when we do it now. You get to do it online, not risk a whole lot, see how it plays, and then, kind of decide if it's implementable in a live setting or not. So I think that part is very helpful for, like, just practice and reps. Because, you can't play live for, like, $50 really.
Yeah.
The rake's too high.
I totally get that. I mean, they make fun of me, but I was like, hey man, I haven't played in a while. I jumped on ACR, played an 11-cent tournament just to play. You know what I mean? It's
There's still something up top.
Yeah. Yeah, and just get those reps in, especially like, so playing on ACR, or like you have to play for real money for someone to respond the way they would respond live.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like if you're playing on Zynga or WSOP, like you just have so much outlandishness, and then you're like, this isn't poker.
Yes, and like plenty of places have like, $500 free roll, and it's just all in.
Yeah.
It's just
Exactly.
double up, run it up, or I'm out. Like people aren't even playing, so those ones are a little less helpful if you're trying to get better. But I do like the small buy-in.
Do you struggle as far as like I know you said you want to play the low stakes to practice, like get reps in, but do you struggle just because on the low stakes you pretty much get called by anything? So even if you 3-bet, like as far as online, when I play, I feel like it's kind of hard compared to live, just because you get a bunch of callers. Like it's not really the same as cash. Do you struggle with that?
Well, for now, my favorite stakes online is 50 cent a dollar because then the buy-in's $100, and it's at the point where it is enough to be relevant for someone, and also not enough to like absolutely crush you if you get stacked. So you gotta find that right medium. You don't want to go in and lose like a ton of money and be like, oh, this was terrible. But you also need it high enough where someone's not like, oh, it's only $4 to call. I just want to see, and then your bluff doesn't work. You gotta find the minimum. When your bluff on the river is like 30, 35, they are gonna think about it. Like they might call anyway. There will be some people that they won't care about the money and they just want to see. But in general, at the 50-cent dollar stakes, I think it plays pretty comparable to a regular like 1-2-2-5 in terms of like the player caliber and everything.
So, on the next question here, how do you get started on YouTube? Like, what made you say, "Hey, I'm gonna record poker hands. And I'm gonna start a poker content YouTube channel"?
Well, it's pretty much outlined in my first 5 videos. Ironically, it's 5 years ago now. It's hard to believe it was that long ago because people pop up every day now with a channel and they go. But I started because um, Jeff Gross and Andrew Nemi were the ambassadors for Poker Stars for a Platinum Pass. Make 5 videos about poker and you get a chance to win $25,000 in a buy-in for like a big poker tournament in Atlantis. And I was sitting there like, I was fresh out of college and I had a job at the time. I was working at UPS. I was sitting there like, oh, I can make 5 videos. This is easy. And then it really wasn't easy, but you had to make one a week. And I saw like all the other competitors because you had to submit it. It's on YouTube. Everyone can see who's doing it. Like they weren't really adhering to the timetable and they weren't really doing anything of quality in my opinion. So I was like, oh, I have a real shot at this. Like I'm going to keep doing it. And I ended up not winning that prize. So, someday Andrew owes me 25 grand. But,
Someday, yeah.
I totally get that.
But after the videos like 4 and 5, I was getting probably like over 150 views a video, which at the time I thought like, wow, I couldn't believe 150 people would watch me like just talk about poker. And a lot of the comments were very positive. They're just like, oh my God, you're so funny, you're unique, like you were better than all these other people, you should keep doing it. And the only reason I decided to keep doing it was I wanted to have like a log for myself to be able to look back on in the future. Like if I went on a big downswing, I could be like, oh, well, when I was winning, my thought process was more aggressive on draws, or maybe I was being more passive in certain spots, or this, that, and the other thing. So I had a literal record of not just a spreadsheet of profits and losses. I had like, this is the exact thing that happened. And I could, see, okay, well, I'm not playing like that anymore. That's why I'm losing. Or maybe, no, I'm playing the exact same, things are just running bad. So I only really continued for that reason. And then eventually when you keep making videos, more and more people seemed to think they were funny and eventually got monetized. And then you start getting ad deals and things got, out of hand real quickly.
Nice. I remember I started. I kind of had the same mentality that was like, you know what, I'm going to start my journey, and it was literally just to do that, to record it, to and see a progression and how hands and how I play evolved, and interesting enough, I did 5 episodes, and after the 5th one, I was like, yeah, this is too much. This is a lot of work. And then I just stopped. I was like, I'd rather just go play, and that's what ended up happening. And it's crazy. It's around the same time. I won't say like 4 years ago, even though you're saying yours was 5. But yeah, I commend you. It's a lot of work, and you kept at it, and you got successful at it.
Yeah, I tell that to everyone because I get people message me pretty much once a week, a new person saying, hey, I'm starting to do videos, like, what advice can you give me? And I always tell them, like, well, you're going to make probably 40 or 50 videos for absolute zero payback, like not anything. And you just have to be prepared for that. That's like the biggest advice I can give you is once you cross the hump of just the algorithm, the work, the getting your following stuff, then it can become really rewarding, but it's going to be hundreds of hours for absolutely nothing. And then, you have to just not give up with it.
Yeah, it's kind of like where we're at. With we're on a couple different journeys, like, between the different platforms. Like we've had TikTok, Instagram and YouTube, and we kind of hit our stride with Instagram recently. We really feel like we found who we want to connect with. YouTube's always interesting, and it seems like these algorithms change frequently, but it's definitely a grind. Like the content game is no joke.
You are definitely able to succeed in any platform you want because I would say the biggest proof of it is Wolfgang.
Yeah.
Because again, I say people mess me all the time. I have people mess me. They'd say, "Kyle, how do I get my stuff more viral? My stuff is just as good as Brad Owens and your stuff, but I only get 50 views a video." And I would say, just as good. Why don't I just watch Brad Owen? Like, you can't be just as good. You have to be better than everyone else out there if you want people to watch. And I bring it back to Wolfgang. He saw that, everyone's on YouTube, everyone's fighting for it, and then he decided to just hammer TikTok. And he's like, you know what? Vlogging has this one format kind of made by Nimi and Owen and all them, but no one's really, piling in on the short form. And that's what Wolfgang did, and now he's got, the best TikTok poker out there, and then everyone tried to copy him on that. But like you said, you're finding Instagram. There's so many markets and avenues and ways to innovate to make this successful. And you just got to find out what's kind of different, what value you add to it, and just keep moving with it.
What was that one video clip that you realized, hey, I can make something out of this?
What exactly do you mean by that?
Was there this one video you posted that kind of separated from numbers compared to the other ones that you realized, okay, I'm going to keep grinding at this because there's potential?
It was kind of funny because when I started, me and Rampage had the same amount of subscribers. We were dead competitive, but he grinded so much harder than me. And for me, I was doing a master's degree, and I had a full-time job, so I couldn't put as much effort into it as I wanted to. And that's nothing, not trying to compare myself to him. I'm just, you could see that the effort you put into it directly relates to how far you can go with it. And I, at that time, was not willing to put enough effort into my stuff. And then I had a few videos that got 30,000, 40,000 views, and I was like, all right, well, this is a very easy to get going if you want to, but then you kind of got to a point where unless you were taking really big shots, you had to just play kind of crazy to break the algorithm at the point when I was 2000, let's say 20 or 21. You'd have to be going all in with a gut shot, will it hit? That'd be your title. And you had to just go viral.
With a crazy thumbnail. Oh, did we lose him?
I don't know if you can hear us, but you froze.
Oh,
I'm back.
I think you're back. I think
TikTok,
you're
IG. We're talking to Kyle Fischl. We're on YouTube.
Here we go. We got him back.
And I always refer to that somewhat as the Mr. Beast model, if you know Mr. Beast. Because he at one point looked at everything and said, if I give this random person $50,000, could I get enough views to make it back and then some? At some point he had to do that calculation in his head. And anyone right now at poker can do the same thing. And it happens with not just poker, it happens with blackjack, baccarat. People make short form on everything gambling. It's if I put $3,000 on this roulette single number and it hits, I might get enough views that I can make so much money. Or if it doesn't hit, maybe I can get $3,000 back if I, look real sad afterwards. People can make this literal calculation in their head and decide if they want to, gamble on the views in the video.
Yeah, because I remember when Rampage came out, I was following him as soon as he came out. I think the one that made him go that viral moment that his numbers shot up was when he won that bracelet event, that online bracelet event during COVID, the COVID WSOP. So he came from grinding just 1-2 at, was it Boston, the MGM, or
Yeah.
And then he won that bracelet event. And then he started playing 2-5 and stuff. And then from there, you can just see his numbers just shoot up on every vlog he came out with. And then obviously, he won the high roller, and he has like I think over 2 million.
If you win a
earnings.
bracelet, you're probably gonna get some people following you.
Yeah.
Like
Just a couple.
that's a pretty good accomplishment. I've played a few WSOP events and got like 1 min cash, so
Yeah.
not.
It's the same with
haven't
Ryan
really-
DePaulo. Ryan DePaulo got third in the Colossus, and that will shot up his numbers.
Yep.
Before that, it was just
And then he still
video
holds the
poker and
record for
slots.
He still holds the record for the funniest video ever, making a bracelet in his car.
Oh, yeah.
That's probably going to be
That Whole
the
Foods
greatest
parking
poker
lot.
video ever.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all you need is just to be different and to keep going, and keep
Yeah.
going is key. I mean, we definitely like trying different things, and we see different things that are sticking. YouTube is slow and steady, but increasing, and then the last 2 months we've just kind of shot up with Instagram.
Talking about tournaments,
When people can share with Instagram, they'll eventually follow it on YouTube, and it all connects. And
Yeah.
just gotta keep going with it.
since we were talking about tournaments, do you dabble in some tournaments as well? Because I see mostly all your posts are like cash games.
Every once in a while, I get a tournament itch, and then I go and I get slaughtered, and I hate it. But I say that, and ironically, I've made like 2 final tables out of maybe 8 or 10 total tournament buy-ins. So really, my numbers are statistically amazing. But for me, when I play like 12, 13, 15 hours, and then, all right, all in with aces, I'm called by sevens, up 7, now I'm out, and I just like, no money. I'm sitting there like, if I played this good for this many hours at a 2-5 cash game, I would have made $2,000-$3,000. Versus this tournament where, one cooler goes the other way, not even a cooler, just a bad beat, a suck out, and you're out, and you go home, and you get nothing. And so it's kind of sad, but I always tell people, like, they ask me for tournament advice, and I'm like, you just have to be lucky, because there's almost no chance you don't get into 4 or 5 flips. And if you just lose one of them, you just lose. So you have to be lucky, like at some level. And yeah, you could put edge to it, like, oh, they were all 60-40s. And I say, like, okay, let's say you're the best player in the world, and you've only got it in with 80-20s. You always had the overpair. If you do it 5 times, statistically, you're supposed to lose. One of those goes the other way, and you're out. So you just, even if you were the best in the world, you do have to just win your all-ins, win your flips. It's kind of cliche, but
Yeah.
that's kind of where I am with it. But the last tournament I played was a $200 one in Miami when they had like the series going on there, and I actually ended up getting 6th, and I'm like, getting to another final table and being at like the pay jumps at that level, it just, it gets you excited, it gets you hyped. So I'm probably going to be firing more tournaments going in because, you just get more practice, you get more comfortable, you kind of learn the, 10, 15 big blind stacks, and then at that point, poker's pretty easy and pretty solvable and pretty memorizable too. Like, there's nothing really hard when it's like 12 to 15 bigs. You've got very few raises, a lot of jams, and a lot of folds, and you get to play almost perfectly. And so as long as you can remember what you're doing, you're probably going to be doing okay.
Do you plan on heading out to the WSOP this summer, getting in some tournaments over there, or not going to make it out there?
Definitely not this summer. 2 years ago, I did the full 40 days, and like I played like basically the only ones that were like 600 and 800 because I'm not rolled like that to like a $40,000 package. But it was a very fun experience because when I went there 2 years ago, I would play the tournament at the Rio, and then when I would lose, I would walk to the Aria because I didn't want to spend $25 on a taxi. Which ironically, walking from the Rio to the Aria is like 50 minutes in the desert in the summer.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we know.
That kind of stuff. And then I go to the Aria, play cash, make $800, $600, whatever I need for my next buy-in. Walk back, buy the ticket, so I didn't have to wait in a line because by that time it's like late reg for this tournament, but the actual line for like a regular tournament at like 7, 8 p.m. is like non-existent for the next day. So I'd have my whatever buy-in for a week and a half from now, and be like, all right, well, now I'm just going to kind of play cash until that tournament. And that was kind of a fun experience. I'm glad I did it once, but going forward, my advice for everyone is just like pick a week or two and just where like 2 or 3 events are in that week that you could play all of them, because the whole 40 days is tough unless you're really trying to play every tournament and you are, I don't know, have $100,000 and you're going for titles. You're not even going for money anymore. You're just trying to win bracelets and stuff. But yeah, if you picking a week or two, I think is the better option these days.
How do you like the cash games in Vegas? Because you play in the Bonita Springs poker room, which was Fort Myers dog track before, and that's a room that's pretty juicy with action. How do you feel the WSOP compares to that?
When I was basically 18 my entire life, my dream was to go to Vegas
And the
and be a
Mirage.
professional poker player. And then when I turned 21 and went to Vegas and played one time, my dream was to live in Florida and be a professional poker player. It was so miserable that I I went there and was still playing 1-2 at the time, and I remember very vividly there was a guy there with 10 Fiji water bottles on the table, and every time the waitress came, he asked for 2 water bottles. Now he's putting them in his backpack, hoodie on, headphones on, not tipping the waitress even a single dollar. And I'm just like, man, you must be down bad if you're trying to make it back on the water. Like I was just shocked. It was like a 1-2 table, and I would never forget that. But when I go to Vegas, I actually do go there probably every year for a week or two. I do end up playing while I'm there, but I typically play either 1-3 or 2-5, and really just to outdrink the rake, because I just like
The
going
free
there
drinks,
where
yeah.
drinks are free and it's fun. And every time I go there, there's like 3 or 4 people that are like as serious as you could possibly be, and like just absolutely want to be pros, like right at the cusp, or so they think. And I'm just sitting there like, drinking and not caring. And it's just, the environment is so much more serious and rigid and less friendly, in my opinion, that it's not fun unless you have, unless you like know people there. You're going for a meetup game, you have some guys coming to meet you. But I was there one time at the Win, and I made like 5 or 6K at a 2-5 table, and that was insane. Like I couldn't even believe that, I could make that much in a single day. And I was also drinking a lot that day, so even better. And then there was one other time in Vegas where I I was there with my dad, and we had a show to go to, and I was at the casinos of Aria before the show. We get there like 2 hours early, and I'm just like, I'm just gonna play, and my only goal is to like just drink as much as I can before the show. And then after like an hour and a half, I'm up like $200, and my last beer comes, tip the dealer a 5, or tip the waitress a 5, and as I'm getting up, 3 people like got up and shook my hand like, "Oh, you're Kyle Fischl, like it was so nice to play with you." Had no idea they knew who I was. I wasn't filming or anything. I was just playing, and I was actually shocked that like I was known even out there, because when you play in the space of like YouTube and everything, there's a lot of geographic just suggestions that the algorithms give you that says like, hey, you like poker and you live in Orlando. Well, this guy makes poker videos in Orlando. They're not really saying like, oh, all the way in Vegas, watch this guy play at this local Sarasota room. Like that typically doesn't happen, but that was kind of a really fun memory for me. That at that point, I remember specifically, I only had like 7 or 8 thousand subs at the time, so to have 3 different people at that table know who I was in Vegas was like the highest point. And that's actually another way you could probably get your channel to go well. If you followed Mariano's journey, like he started out back in the day, he would travel to all the rooms, and his video started with the pros and cons of each room. He would rate them, be like, this room had this and it was really good. This, I wish it was better. And that was kind of interesting. And I can only imagine you're just farming subs at that point. Now you have Mariano, he's played in this room, he's played in this room. It's just suggested to everyone everywhere around here. He's playing everywhere, and so that would be probably a fantastic strategy for anyone out there trying to um, get their stuff going a little bit more viral. Kind of an underrated strategy that I think most people don't really remember or think about.
Yeah, I remember Mariano. He had when he first started, he always had like flew his drone over the place, like, "Hey, I'm at this
Yeah,
casino," and stuff like that. And he's all just a cash game player. Does he play tournaments at all? I don't think so, right? Everything's just
not
cash.
really. I think he plays the main just because it's the main.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, when you can make $1 million in a few months playing regular cash game, the only real incentive to play a tournament is like the dream or like the Colossus. I could turn $400 into a house. Like, it's the big ones, the long shots. But if you can just win the same amount of money just playing cash game, there's no real reason to play tournaments. But you're never really gonna turn 1K into 100K playing at a 2-5 table. So it's do you want to go big long shots or do you want to go consistent medium? Which as you go up in the stakes, the consistent medium gets higher, but tournaments, you can turn $500,000 into a house. So it's really just what you're looking for. And I like how Daniel Negreanu once posted in his documentary. He's like, cash games is like the work and tournaments is the gravy. Like, we make our money from cash games, and tournaments are like dessert. It's like the goodies. It's like, yeah, I made all this money. Now I get a chance to really make some money. So people who are tournament professionals, sure they have to have something on the side because it's very hard to just only grind tournaments.
Oh yeah, talking about Negrano, obviously I'm pretty sure you saw he won the 50K Players Championship. What are your thoughts on poker right now, and especially since Negrano won? Like, you can kind of see like all these old school guys still winning, like Ivory and Negrano.
I tell this to a lot of people who are trying to get better. Like, people come up to me, they're like, "Hey, I know all the charts. I'm playing like perfectly, but I'm still losing." And I asked them, I'm like, "All right, so you understand like GTO, what the computer says? Where are you playing at?" And they'll point to a table over there. I'll be like, "All right, who at that table also understands the charts and everything?" And they're usually like, "Well, none of them." Well, then the charts are useless because the charts are assuming that everyone is playing good and they're playing the same optimal strategy. But to be actually successful is you have to have a baseline and know what's correct and then adjust it based on what your opponents are doing. And that's what Daniel does really well is literally in his video he literally says like, all right, this guy, his game is this, and because it's player's choice, we're gonna stay away from this game, we're gonna go play into this one, this is where I have my edge. Like, he's choosing the routes that give him the best chance and seeing what his opponents do and adjusting to it. And that's the best way to be successful. And also, I always hear people criticize like Phil Hellmuth. They always say like, "Oh, he's a nit. He's playing like this. He's playing like that." And he raises kings to two big blinds and then folds. When he's re-raised, and somehow it's correct. Oh, you just have to get it in here. And to that, I always say like, I don't know. Once you have 18 bracelets, I guess you can tell him how to play. Like, it seems like people get into this mindset that the computer's always right and that's the best and we have to play this way. And that's the only way you can be successful. When poker is poker because you have to be able to adjust to your opponents. And that's the biggest way to be profitable. If you can't adjust to your opponents, then everything else is like basically useless.
I see you mentioned Helmuth. What are some of your favorite poker players, and who do you model your game after, if you model your game after any?
When I first started out, I had a book probably this thick, very big book, and it was Dan Negreanu's small ball strategy book, and I very much liked that. Uh, Part of it is because I like playing a lot of hands. I didn't want to just sit there and wait for aces and kings. That was just, oh, I could not survive that. I wanted to get in there, and I liked the philosophy behind it. Betting small and consistent and really with a wide range of hands and really keeping your opponents guessing. Also lets you make your bluffs a lot cheaper. Now, that was kind of more prevalent 5 years ago or 6 years ago or so, where now like people are bluffing for pot and a half, 2x pot, and it's just like it works sometimes, but like if the same bluff could work for like a quarter pot or 50% pot because it looks so value heavy, then when you're called, you save so much money. So I still like the small ball strategy. I just don't think it's very implementable anymore because everyone is like kind of in this pot and a half zone when there's like a dangerous board, like a four line or four flush board or paired board. They're always just like, no one is going for value. They're going for home runs or nothing. And so it does mean you have to make your decisions better. You have to think about if these people, your opponents, have the ability to have bluffs or if they just um, simply don't have it in them. Because that's kind of what I see at the 1-3 and 2-5 stakes is that they see that this 2x pot and a half size bet is like what a lot of people are doing with like value, but they don't have the bluff side almost ever. And you just have to be like, you know what, I have like the third nuts, but I just don't think you have the bluff in you. You specifically, I'm looking at you, sir. No way. Like, I've seen you play one hand all day. Like, you're not just picking this time to bluff. So I'll just do the hero fold. But, yeah, so basically, when I started out, I did a lot of small ball, modeled off Daniel, and now I kind of just use my experience to, like, take everything that I learned and put it together because a strategy might work at one table and be absolutely useless at another table because you really just have to play to your opponents these days because people are making so many errors all the time and you're going to make your money based on their errors. We're trying not to make errors ourselves or extend ourselves too wide. We just got to see what people are doing incorrectly and adjust from there because I've played at tables where I raised a 15 and I got a walk at a 2-5 table. And I've played other tables where it's folded to me. I make it 55 and get 4 callers. Like saying you have to just see what table you're at and then adjust from there.
Yeah. We were just talking about that.
Give me your top 4 poker players.
Your Mount Rushmore?
4.
Yeah, let's hear your Mount Rushmore. A couple weeks ago, we did a segment where we did our Mount Rushmore. So let's set the parameters, though. This doesn't necessarily need to be the top 4 players based on skill, right? Like, and I know we're putting you on the spot last second here, but let's say a lot of different factors, right? Skill, legacy, impact on the game in terms of like, growing the game, longevity, like whatever the case may be. Who would you say is your top 4 players from really beginning of time?
Definitely Dale Negreanu. Yeah, his books from back in the day. He was kind of iconic even in like the 90s. And then Phil Hellmuth because just based on the max bracelets, like you can't not be the GOAT unless you have more titles than the GOAT. That's just a fact. Third, Dan Bilzerian. Probably the most profitable poker player in the history of the world. And people underestimate it that you don't have to be the best poker player to make the most money, but you do have to be in the best game. And you have to find a way to add value to that game to get invited to it. Because I hear so many people come to poker rooms, they're just like, oh, there's not a 5-10 running. And be like, who'd you invite? You expect everyone to just show up? Like, let's say you're the best player in the room. Why are they coming to play you? Like with a 15% VPIP and a huge big blind per hour edge, why would anyone play with you? Like, but Dan Bilzerian found a way to build his game, make all the money, play whenever he wants. So maybe Bilzerian and Keating are kind of tied there, and then fourth would be Mariano because he kind of I think he's actually shown what can happen through study and dream. He went from in 3 years 1-3 to absolutely crushing the highest stakes like poker cash and did it all with footage that anyone could model, anyone could do it. And the only reason I choose him over Rampage is Rampage has a little downswing right now, which that could change. He can come out of it this week. He could win a 50K tournament and be back on top any day. But right now, Mariano hasn't had that $1 million downswing. He's made basically all the money, made all the subscribers. Now he plays, buys a house in LA, gets to pursue music. It's the actual dream that people have when they have poker. It's freedom. It's all the money you want. It's doing whatever you want once you've achieved it. So he's definitely got to be on the Mount Rushmore.
It's funny that you say Dan Bilzerian because usually, like with the people, they say, "Oh, I won all these millions of dollars playing these private games." It's hard to believe them. I don't know if you saw this article that Chance came out with, and he was saying that Dan Bilzerian called them and was like, "Hey, let's study because I have this millionaire come into play." And then he's like, "Okay, give you 10 grand or 10%. I think it was 10 grand if you help me. So if he wins." And then allegedly, Dan Bilzerian won 10 million. I think it was like 10 million that day playing against this multi-millionaire. So then Chance was mad because he was just like, "Hey, I should have asked for 10% instead of 10 grand." So it's crazy that you hear, and then he was also referenced Andrew Robo's the one that set it up because he does all the private high stakes games, and you get these top poker players saying, "Hey, yeah, Dan Bilzerian really does make a lot of money," and then you got other guys saying like, "Oh no, he's full of shit," So it's kind of like it's hard to believe.
Yeah, just from what I've seen, it looks like he does. And I have no reason to call him a liar. I'm not close to him.
Yeah.
But my point of that is the style needs to be on the Mount Rushmore. Same thing as Keating. Like, you get to the private game, you've built your game where you've got, like, the biggest players in the world coming, and you're just able to play. Like, you don't have to fight the best player in the world. You have to fight, bad Jim once a week, and when he's done being CEO of whatever, like that is the best poker player who can get into the best game.
And we all know his lifestyle and the eye candy he brings to these poker games, which will attract billionaires just to come and just play poker in his yacht.
You always have to bring value to the game, because when I played when I started the channel, I had a few people ask me to stop early on when I was making videos because they said, like, the local players in Orange City were getting better. Like, I'm like, so why?
7 years of playing Orange City, I don't think I've seen the players get better.
I'm just that's what people pulled me to the side and asked me to stop making videos because they're like, this guy, I've been taking money from him forever, and now he's not making these mistakes anymore. And I'm like, why don't you get better too?
Yeah.
And I always pose it to people like this: like, if the same guy came to play poker with you every week, and every week you took $500 from him, well, in like week 6 or 7, he's gonna go on vacation or something. He's gonna spend that $500 somewhere else. You can't just take money from people forever and add no value to the game. So at least for me, I would say, like, oh well, I add videos. I'm at least fun at the table. I drink and I talk to people, and if they want to talk to me afterwards and ask how they played, I always give them advice of what I think they could do better. But, like, and I get people that message me like, oh, I'm kind of getting into poker. I like your channel. And, like, any advice? I'm like, well, there we go. I bring people into poker that weren't going to be in there regularly. So you add to the player pool. And obviously a new player coming in, very hard for them to be successful right off rip. Like, they're gonna have some speed bumps. They could just, run pure, but likely they're gonna have some speed bumps, but they get the hang of it, they move forward. So I just say, like, we have to add value to the community, for lack of a better word, in whatever way we can, and I do it by the videos and everything.
So, I mean, obviously you have a lot more subs than we do and get a lot more comments. Are they mostly positive or negative? Because we posted a couple hands, and yeah, man, I'm getting reamed.
Oh no, they're terrible. The comments are brutal. But I always like, if I actually pose a question like, how did I play this hand? Usually I get a split. Some people say play it good, some people say play it bad. That means you're probably close to right. Mm-hmm. But if, like, everyone said it one way, then you'd be like, okay, I must have really botched this. And I hardly ever get that. And I will reference the Queen's hand from my last video. Anyone who's new to the podcast or don't know me. My last video, I had pocket queens. board was, I was 3-bet by a player who was very, very, very tight, who I've probably never seen 3-bet ever. And the flop came king, queen, 5. He bet. I called because I have a set of queens. And it turns an ace. And he bets again, and I just snap fold. And I was met with probably 30, 40 comments saying how bad I am, how to quit the game. And they were all with these totalities of like, you can never fold a set here. If he has it, he has it. And I'm like, okay, but not a single one of these comments that told me how bad I was and how wrong it was ever proposed a single hand he could have that I was beating. It wasn't, you're bad, you can't fold this, because he could have ace-king. It's just, you have a set, you can't fold this. So they learned these arbitrary rules of like, this hand is too strong to fold, without like putting it to the absolute maximum of exploitation. Like, this guy is so tight that I can fold this here and be fine with it, because there's like no shot that it wasn't good. And something that didn't really make the video, but probably 15 minutes later, he just, nudged me and said, hey, that was actually a good fold. And I didn't ask him. I wasn't like back, like, hey, for the vlog, what'd you have? Like, he chose to tell me that, and way past the point where I'm even interested or thinking about the hand. So I have to assume he was telling the truth. If not, it's terrible, Needle. Like,
Yeah.
just get me later.
Yeah, a lot of times
But,
you got to play the player. Because I know you played in Orange City a lot. This is old lady named Barb that she only raises when she have aces. So it's like,
Yep.
that guy might have been something like that. Like, this guy is super tight. Like, whenever he raises, he has it. He has the nuts. If not, he's just calling. So I understood it.
Yeah, I would say similar to Barb. Like, I know who Barb is. I always like Barb, but
Barb is actually just an angry lady, man. The first time I ever played with the Barb was I played Omaha High-Low at freaking Daytona, not knowing what the hell I was doing. This had to be like 07, 08. Had no idea what she was doing or what I was doing. I just knew whenever Barb raised, you fold. That was it.
So, crazy story about Barb. Like, this guy raised, she re-raised. Pre-flop, the guy folded queen straight up like that. And it wasn't that big of a raise.
Yep.
And he said, I know you have it. And she's like, oh, she showed
Yep.
the aces like that. And then another guy that same day was pissed at her because he's just like, get her out the table. Like, she's getting blinded out here because she doesn't play any hands unless it's like premium hands. So, like, sometimes when you make these videos, people criticize, they don't know the player. Like, sometimes this player only plays like Barb, like aces or kings, and she will even fold kings pre-flop. That's just the type of person she is.
yeah, I was there one time. There was a player who I would consider a very good reg, and he raised huge pre-flop. She calls from like a blind. Checks to him. He bets half pot. She calls. Board's 10 high. Turn, board's still 10 high. She checks. He bets huge. She calls. River, board's still 10 high. She checks when he jams for 500. She snaps with aces. He has kings. And I'm sitting there like, I'm not sure the river bet. Like, the first two, probably okay. The river one, come on, man. Like, you don't gotta rip on this person specifically.
Yeah.
I still remember that. That was hysterical.
So, getting back, I wanted to ask you, there's a lot of highs and lows. So, let's get down to what's the most you won and what was your mindset? And then when you lost, the most you lost in one section, what was your mindset after that?
The most I ever won in a single day was, I believe it was like 56 or 5,700 playing 2-5. And my mindset at the time was probably like, well, this was nice, but I actually that weekend owed like $5,000 to my master's degree, and I'm just like, I guess it came at a good time. So never got to enjoy it, never got to play with it, just shipped it right away. So that was kind of cool. The biggest loss I ever had was probably 4,600 in one day. And that time I was playing 2-5, 10, 20. So it wasn't even big for the game. I just typically didn't run too well in that specific game. And it kind of sucks because you grind really hard at the 2-5 stakes, make like 5,600, maybe a K, and then you're like, all right, I'm gonna play the big one, and then you just get whopped. And that's happened to me like many times. Like my channel, it goes through that consistently. Like I have a few videos where it's literally titled play 2, 5, 10, 20 and drop 2 to 3K like every time. And objectively, I would say like I'm not even playing bad. It's just I haven't gotten a strong win at the bigger table, and that's kind of holding me back. And the one hand I usually give as an example is, you can see it on my channel. Videos titled like guys in there with 20 grand and everyone else has like 5, but I have pocket deuces and the board is like king 9 deuce 2 hearts. Don't remember what the betting is. Turn heart, I bet huge. Don't even care. He doesn't have a mate flush yet. River 4th heart, and then he leads and just all ins, and I just fold. He has ace king ace of hearts, and I'm like, I just win so much money on king 9 deuce 2 hearts versus ace king ace of hearts when I have pocket deuces all the time, except for this 3% chance. And I fold river like any show. He was generous. Kind of knew I was shot taking. Most people are kind of nice in poker. They're not really trying to. Some people think that they're out to get you, but a lot of people are just everyone's just trying to win and play their game. They're not really trying to crush people's souls because then you would never come back and the game would die. But that one it was just so frustrating because you finally make a hand in like the biggest game you've played in like a long time, probably the biggest game for like 3-4 months. You're not playing this regularly, and you just put all the money in with the best chance to win and it doesn't work out. And the low is it makes you kind of feel like poker is unwinnable at that point. Like that's just from my experience. Some people like some days you believe you can make it and be like a pro and have everyone there, and other days you're just like, no, I'm just a YouTube clown in a 2-5 reg. Like I'm never really gonna get to the next step. But because like most videos you see when you see like the first time Mariano said like I'm gonna buy in for $10,000. He makes like 20 grand on that video. Like the first time he ever does it. Like maybe he played not on film before that, but first video he ever does he crushes. And a lot of people when they do this big shot take, it goes well. But I'm more of the intro to rounders where it's like, oh, you don't see other people who take their shot and then lose and just back down to the grind. But for me at least, I've had a really good June, so I'm gonna start looking for another like 5, 10, 20 in the next few weeks. Take my next shot because when you start winning 5, 6 times in a row, then the bankroll gets real healthy. You're like, all right, this is easy. Like, I kind of got my groove, got a good feel for everything. Not putting too much risk out there, not being crazy, but playing the hands that come to me, and you just hope that this time it goes right. And it kind of reminds me of the Daniel Negreanu documentary because he says in his documentary life story that he'd go to Vegas with 3K and lose it all in a single day. He did it like 7 times. He's just like, well, I'm back to 10-20 limit. They're not gonna break me. I'm gonna figure it out. And I just you're gonna get beaten down so many times, but it just takes like one to really like put you to the next step.
All right, so shot take. Do you have any other goals coming for the rest of the year? Any YouTube goals or anything like that?
Probably. I would say 20,000 subs, but I'm at like 17.5, and based on how much I get, probably gonna be there in a month or two. So maybe 25,000 subs.
Nice.
But it's easy to gain subscribers when you play higher stakes. Like just more people want to watch bigger pots. Like less people want to watch a 1-2, 1-3 player than a 25-50 private game in Vegas. They would rather see what that's like. They want to experience something that they can't do locally. So, with bigger stakes comes more subscribers, comes more, offers, and people have offered to buy me into these big games, and I just like, I'm not at the point where I think I could play well with someone else's money currently. There was a time when I would have, but like now I'm just like, I need to be 100% myself. Because if you're gonna play with 20% of yourself, just play your regular game. Like you don't need to have a 5K buy-in and only 20% of yourself. Just play the game you play. Like it's kind of unnecessary at that point.
Yeah.
So just trying to build the bankroll, get to a higher stakes, probably 5'10" by the end of July, and if it goes well, maybe I'll be a 5'10" reg. Who knows?
And you said you got your master's degree. Are you working and playing, or are you just playing poker for a living?
No, now I just play poker. When I finished college, I got a job at UPS just moving boxes while I was looking for a real job. And one day the boss comes to me and says, "Hey Kyle, would you like a degree?" And I tell him I already have a degree. And he asked me if I wanted to get a master's degree. And I'm like, well, sure, because they were going to pay for like most of it. So decided to move boxes while I was tuition reimbursing for a master's degree. Still at that time full planning on to just like have a job and not pursue poker the way it was. Poker was always just kind of a side fun thing, but then you get a few weekends where once the master's degree is done and you're working in a finance office where you've made $3,000 in the weekend and it's Wednesday and your whole 40 hours is going to be like $900 and you're just like, man, what am I doing here? Like, but by the same token, sometimes you lose 3-4 grand in the weekend and you're sitting there on Wednesday, thank God I have this job. I'd be in real trouble if I didn't. But no, since 2021, I have not had a job and just had poker. And it's I usually refer to myself as Knish. I pay all the bills with it. Not really going to the glory and everything, but I'm profitable and that's pretty good. But
Yeah, you got
once you
rent, alimony. You got a lot of things going on.
yeah, once you get to once you start making enough money, it's like, all right, well, it's time to see if there's a higher stakes. Time to really test ourselves.
So since you're local from Florida, what's your favorite poker room in the state of Florida?
Well, I would say that my top three, like third place would be Best Bet Jacks, mostly because of the sushi. Like, if you've ever been there, no one really. Every time I tell everyone, like, when you go there, you have to get like sushi while you're playing poker, and they're like, "That's the most bizarre thing I've ever heard." But it's so good and it's so cheap, and it's just so iconic and it's stable now. Now everyone knows that you can get sushi at Jacksonville, and like uh, and the live stream, because I always tell people that they should sign up for a live stream whenever they can, because you don't really know what you look like playing poker until you've seen it. First time I watched myself back on a live stream, I was like, oh my God, I look so weak. I would have called my ass so fast on that one. But I still got to fold when you're bluffing. I'm like, I can't believe I look like that when I'm playing poker. Like, I can't even believe it. So, get to work on some tendencies when you actually see yourself on camera. Number two probably would be Bonita Springs. I think that they have a really good games, like, and really good game selection. You can come there at like 9:30 in the morning and there'll be like 6 2-5s going. So you can actually pick and choose. Where a lot of rooms, they have one or two and it's like here or there, pick where you're playing. But when you actually get game selection, it can be tremendously helpful to your bottom line. And, you really got to find a spot where you can do that. But obviously when you get to 5-10, there's really no game selection. It's that table, take it or leave it. There, pyramid. It gets narrower at the top. But number one's obviously Orange City. They were the first room to give me permission to film. First ones to just kind of know me and give me a shot because, again, I started back with Rampage and Owen and stuff early on when it was really just everyone just talking on camera. Like, there was not even, like, the idea that you would get the chance to film at a poker room. Like, it wasn't even, like, conceivable. It was just, no, we just talk strategy when we get home and decide what we're going to do. And I think that's really lost on people these days. Because people are like, oh, I'm going to start a vlog, I have this, idea here and there. And I'm like, man, we started where this wasn't even, like, theoretical. This was just our way to get strategy out there. And then, Owen decides to do a Westgate where he, rents kind of the room and everyone has permission. And then he kind of snowballed it from there. But it's really, really humbling when you remember that, like, my videos were no footage and finally getting the okay from Orange City to be like, okay, yeah, you have permission to film. Like everyone else phones off, but we know who you are. We've you've done 30, 40 videos of just yourself talking. Yeah, we trust you. Just send it. They asked me to send it to them before it went up to make sure no one's face was on it, make sure there's no issue. They looked at it, they said it was good, and I got the green light. So Orange City is always the best room in Florida.
Nice.
Are you pretty familiar with like the expansion they're currently doing right now?
At Orange City.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're eventually gonna get the meetup games going on stream.
Yeah.
We're gonna be working on that. Be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we
Because I was because I live in Cape Coral now, so it's Southwest Florida. It's like 3 hour drive from Orange City. I was going there like once a month to play, but the 3 hour drive kind of was getting to me. And then the 1-3-3 meetup game was. It seemed as though I was the only one in the meetup game style. Like I was splashing and having fun, and then it was just a lot of people that were there playing very, very seriously. And then I was like, all right, well, I'm not really gonna come up here for a meetup game if I'm the only one who's like just throwing money around. So then the last video I went from there, I played 2-5 regularly. It wasn't a meetup game because I wanted it to be a meetup game where like, because they don't typically run 1-3, but I was like, all right, we want to give 1-2 players a chance to shot take, a 2-5 player that's in the struggling, had some bad days, they can buy in for 500. It's a good little medium. You want the buy-in numbers to overlap a little bit, so a winning player here can play at the next stake without feeling uncomfortable. When the room is like 2-5, 200 to 1,000, and then 5-10, 3,000 to 5,000. That's a hard jump to go. But like when it's like 1,500 max 2-5 and 2,000 minimum like 5-10, it's a little more reasonable. Like people are, if you're a winning 2-5 player, you're used to a $2,000 stack pretty easily. Not that I would buy in for the minimum, but just my point. So I put this together with stakes that kind of matched everything, and it just seemed like everyone there was playing super, super seriously, and it was a little bit it wasn't as fun as I hoped it would be, and then that's why I started playing 2-5. But when we get the stream going, oh, it's gonna be fun. The stream's gonna be great. Like I'm gonna straight make lineups and set it up, and we're gonna have a casting characters, and I'm gonna make my own videos with running tallies of bankrolls, and it's gonna be great.
There you go. Yeah, we're so Orange. I'm not sure if you know where we're based out. So we're based out of Orlando. Orange City is our main room. We've been exchanging messages with Ryan pretty consistently with Orange City over there, and we're looking to partner with them. So that's really cool that you're fully up to date. And it looks like you're gonna be playing a really big part in that. So that's exciting. We're guessing that you're gonna be at the Moneymaker tour. That's gonna be in mid-August.
Yeah, probably. I just need to know the exact date of it, but I was there for the one when we went to Daytona, played on the live stream with him there. Got wrecked because it was a step up, so I always get wrecked when I play bigger. That day specifically, aces versus ace 4 on 2-3-5 XX. So obviously he has ace 4 because I have 2 aces. I block it so hard, but why wouldn't he get wrecked? And wasn't Moneymaker, it was another player, but lost like 2-3K on that game, which sucked, but maybe it'll be my redemption time this time around. It's good for the story, as Wolfgang says. It's good for poker. Do it for poker.
There you go. Yeah, it should be mid-August.
Yeah.
And this is the first time they're coming to Orange City. Like, this is literally the biggest tournament Orange City's ever hosted. So
Yeah.
we're excited. We definitely hope that you make it out there because it'd be really cool to connect with other poker players.
Yep. Definitely. Once I get the real date, I'll make sure it can make it up to it.
Yeah. It posted, so it's up there. It's definitely up there already.
Yeah, I'll find it.
What else you got?
Yeah.
No. I mean, for me, I think it's just really cool to not only be able to connect with a poker content creator, but one that's based out of Florida. I mean, we've been playing poker for a minute now, but we've never really been able to connect with other poker players in this area. We've all been on IG for a while now. We connect with a lot of players across the country, but it's really cool to see someone that's a Florida-based poker player, and hear you talk about the rooms that we've all had a chance to play in. But the volume that you're doing it at is really cool. Being able to get some insight as to your strategies and, you know, even at a high level is really really cool. So for me, just appreciate you coming on, spending some time with us, and you know, letting us ask you all these questions.
For sure. And thank you for putting out content and growing the game of poker as well too. Keep putting out stuff. Don't worry about these negative comments. It's everywhere. So just keep doing your thing, man.
Oh, I
Appreciate it.
don't.
And if you want to get,
I've been doing this for years.
Yeah.
I'm immune. It just goes right past.
and if
Don't
you
even
want to
worry
get
about it.
reps in at no stakes, it is we have our Snap Call Poker League $30 buy-in tournament coming in July. So and that's just a bunch of us just hanging out. So
Yeah, we do a little monthly game with.
Yeah.
We're probably the only ones that really play poker out of the group.
Yeah.
We do a little friendly game with our buds.
yeah,
that-
it's
it's a reason for them to get out the house and have a drink. Really, that's what it comes down to.
The best way to play poker.
yes.
Yeah, that's how we all grew up how to play. So it's nice to
Exactly.
go back to the
Yep.
roots for sure. For sure.
Yep.
Cool. Well,
Right,
the last thing, I think. Let's see here. Well, and here it's. Oh, and real quick, there's a fourth member here. Fernando's over here. He was in the Army Reserve doing some training this past summer, so he's back. So he's kind of our media guy. So wanted to make sure that we shout out Fernando since he's returned now after a month hiatus. But other than that, man, thanks so much. Ice, you want to just close us out?
Yeah, appreciate it, guys. Everybody, tune in. We have a lot of stuff coming up, some collaborations, some other interviews coming up. Once again, thank you, Kyle, and have a good night, guys.
Yeah, you know, I'm feeling myself right now. It's a new year. We about to do this. Let's go. I feel like the king of my city. Tony Montana. Whole lot of bands I gotta spend. I might go cut me a mansion. I feel like the king of my city. Tony Montana.